International rescue crews are arriving in Turkey and northern Syria after two huge earthquakes left more than 5,000 people dead. Turkey's President Erdogan has declared a 3-month state of emergency in the 10 provinces affected. Efforts continue to try and find survivors, but there are concerns that damage to roads and airports and winter weather, plus the security situation in northern Syria, is preventing crews from getting through. The World Health Organization is warning that as many as 23 million Turkish and Syrian people will be affected by the disaster, including over 1 million children. Well, let's talk now to BJ Richardson, who's a US citizen living in the affected area of Gaziantep in Turkey. Welcome to the programme. Let me take you back, if I may. Talk us through where you were and what happened when you became aware of this first earthquake.
Well, I was asleep in bed in my apartment. It was about 4:15 in the morning when that first earthquake hit. I am in an apartment building. There's basically 5 floors, about 30 apartments in that building. And I went from dead asleep to wide awake pretty much instantly when that happened. So when it did, I got up, I went to a doorpost and stood there waiting for the tremors to end. We've had minor earthquakes here before, but this was by far an order of magnitude larger. It was much larger, it was much more extreme, and those tremors seemed to go on forever. That first shake was well over a minute long. When they finally did stop, I exited the building. Many of the others had already left. People are out there without jackets and slippers early in the morning, freezing rain with snow on the ground. And just confusion and shock for what went on.
So you presumably stayed outside then, and this first earthquake was followed then by another earthquake. What happened then?
Well, we're out there, but nobody could really stay out there very long, simply because we weren't prepared to be out there. Nobody's ready for this weather, so you had to choose to go back into a potentially dangerous building or to stay outside and freeze. Most of us did eventually start to go in. I was inside and just starting to try to figure out what was going on, get online to figure that out, when another, I think it was a 6.7 aftershock hit, that again was about 30 or 45 seconds long. At that point, I got coat, got bag, got everything and got out, and I have not been back in my apartment since.
So what's the situation now? We've had multiple earthquakes and aftershocks, freezing weather. What's going on the ground?
Well, I'm actually, the school that I work at, they opened up their gymnasium, so I've been able to shelter there. I'm very blessed to be here. There are about 200 people that are here, probably about 50 kids, about 50 teachers and families of teachers, and then there's about 100 people from the community that I've gathered here. There's many places like this, but most people are sleeping in their cars. I was out early this morning, probably about 5:36 in the morning, just walking around, and almost every car I saw had an individual or an entire family sleeping inside their cars.
So how are people coping with this? You say some people sheltering in the gymnasium where you are, some people sleeping in their cars, but presumably all over the pictures we're seeing showing rubble, devastation. How are people dealing with that?
It's just shock. I mean, it's how can you deal with that? I mean, you pray it's not your own building. You pray it's not, friends or people that you know, and then you grieve for those that have. Many of the adult men have left the shelter during the daytime to go down to the affected areas in the center or the north to try to help out what they can, but really, there's not much without the rescue crews and without the equipment. There's not much that can be done. So I've mostly stayed here. There are a lot of kids. I am a first-grade teacher, and so I've stayed here and tried to do what I can to keep the kids occupied and to keep their mind off it.
So what's needed most of all now to help with the rescue effort, do you think?
Right now, I think probably the biggest need is bodies on the ground with equipment that could be used. Obviously, the first and greatest urgent need at this point is those that are trapped inside buildings. Until we can get to those buildings, until we can begin to clear away the rubble, we don't know how many people are still alive. There are thousands of buildings that have been collapsed, many that have been partially collapsed. I personally have heard stories of people that are stuck on the ground floor. So we do what we can do, but right now, bodies on the ground is the biggest need. Once that's done, also there's going to be need for food, for gas, for in rebuilt infrastructure in this area. Blankets, obviously, things that keep people warm, because the gas in their cars, the batteries in their cars are not going to last forever. And we're running out of gas in the city, so.
Well, BJ Richardson, we wish you and everyone living in Gaziantep in Turkey all the best, and thank you very much for joining us today.